Firstly, a public service announcement. Next week, God willing, there will be no Lighthouse Project because it is Shavuot, and therefore we're going to be offline and staying up all night, doing what we do. Tonight's Lighthouse is sponsored by DJ Acquisitions in honor of the Refuah Shlema of Menachem Mendel ben Sarabatia, and also by Nathanoff for the Yurtzeit of Uriel ben Leah, and for the Refuah Shlema of Yoshua Meir ben Leah Sarah, Menachem Mendel ben Sarabatia, and Devorah Fega bat Rizel. Okay, shall have your Refuah Shlema. Now we mentioned on Facebook. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see this, but we sort of did a little bit of an about face. I had the best intentions. I really did. I promise. I had very excellent intentions about what to speak about tonight, and just something happened. Like a thought happened, and it was a very compelling thought. And I said, "That's it. I have to switch. We got to talk about something else." So we're going to change the topic. The topic is now Shavuot, confronting poverty in our community. So let's see how it goes, and I'd love to hear the feedback as always. And like we say, for those of you in our audience, our virtual audience, please share the heck out of it. If you like it, then like it. Please like it. Tell me that you're there. Share it. Get it out there. Let's share the love. Okay, so in the Torah, let's begin at the beginning. In the Torah, how many holidays are there? How many Jewish holidays exist?
Pesach.
Pesach.
Shavuot.
Shavuot.
Rosh Hashanah. Is Rosh Hashanah Chagim?
Sure.
Yom Kippur. Sukkot. Simchat Torah.
Close. You got 5, and you've named all 5. Because Shmini Atzeret is actually part of, I know it's Regel B'fnei Atzmo, but it's essentially part of Sukkot. So, in the Torah, it is Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim, Sukkot. Or as Ashkenazis say it, Pesach, Shavuot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. Okay, those are the 5. There is not a 6th. The 6th does not exist. So Hanukkah, Purim, Veterans Day, and Valentine's Day, and Mother's Day, those are wonderful holidays, and you should definitely buy people the appropriate parties a card and celebrate their lives and their connection to you, but that's not in the Torah. Okay, the Torah is only those 5. Those 5 and only those 5 in that order. They all have something thematic of the day. They all have an indigenous mitzvah. We call it mitzvah hayom. The mitzvah that each and every holiday has about itself. So, for example, on Pesach, you have a few, right? You're not allowed to eat leaven. You cannot eat any product which is chametz, and you have to also eat matzah. Now, that's not the same thing, because if it was the same thing, just eat matzah, you could have a bagel and some matzah, and it's not enough. And it's not enough to not eat leaven. You can't just be like, oh, I'm going to have meat and potatoes the whole yontif, and I'm not going to eat any matzah. No, you have to do both those things. You have to A, eat matzah, and B, refrain from eating any sort of chametz product. On Sukkot, you sit in that hut and you wave foliage. I mean, we're going to talk about that, I promise. When we get to Sukkot, God willing, we're going to explain what the heck you're doing, waving palm fronds in the air. On Rosh Hashanah, you make sounds by blowing into the horn of a ram. We're also going to discuss that, don't worry. On Yom Kippurim, we torture ourselves. And, right? So every holiday has a theme. It has a mitzvah hayom, a mitzvah of the day. What is the mitzvah hayom of Shavuot? So everyone says, well, staying up all night learning Torah. Staying up all night learning Torah is the mitzvah hayom of Shavuot. The only problem is this is absolutely not true. It's completely farcical. The concept of staying up all night, have you ever heard that concept? People stay up all night and they learn Shavuos? So the truth is that, as far as I know, the source, the origin of that custom goes back to the 16th century in Tzfat, where the Kabbalists lived. So the Arizal was there, and it's brought down in a book called the Shalah, the Shnei Luchos Abris, the Shalah. The Shalah brings down, he records the following story, and he actually records it in the first person. He says, I was there, I witnessed this, I saw this when this happened. He was sitting with the Arizal and Rabbi Yosef Karo, the author of the Shulchan Aruch, and they decided they were going to stay up all night on the first night of Shavuos and study Mishnah. And then in the middle of this, and please don't take my word for it, if you're home or if you're not, Google the heck out of this just to see that I'm not making this up. In the middle of this evening of learning, this night learning, all of a sudden Rabbi Yosef Karo sort of like slumped in his chair, and his eyes rolled to the back of the head. I mean, this is literally described like this in the Shalah. And his mouth opened wide, his lips did not move, and a voice emanated from his throat. From his throat, he was possessed by an angel. And it started to speak, and it said, I am the Mishnah, and I've been neglected all these years, and thank you so much for bringing me back. Anyway, because of that, that is the source of people staying up all night and learning Torah on Shavuot. There is nothing to the best of my knowledge before that. So that's 16th century Tzfat. You want to take the story literally, you don't want to, I don't care, that's up to you. But that's where...
Are we supposed to only learn in Mishnah?
No. Learn whatever you want. Learn how to juggle. No, don't learn how to juggle. Learn any piece of Torah that you find really speaks to you. That's the one that you should do. It's like, oh, it is so nice to see you. I can't begin to say. Really, I was going to call you and be like, where have you been? Thank you so much. So on Shavuos, there is no mitzvah to stay up all night learning. That's a custom, and it's a very late custom. A 500-year-old custom for us is practically an infant. So it's not a no custom. So what's the mitzvah hayom? What is the mitzvah to do on Shavuos? I'll give you a hint. Nothing. There's no mitzvah hayom.
It's that important that we do it twice here.
Well, that's true, because we have Sfegat Yoma. Yeah, that's a good, by the way. That would make an excellent topic to discuss why that is, that we keep 2 days in the diaspora and 1 day in Israel. That's a worthy topic on its own.
To 10 commandments?
It's not a mitzvah. Listen to the Ten Commandments on Shavuot. Surprisingly, ironically, strangely, it's bizarre. There's no mitzvah. That's a problem, because the mitzvah of the day is the personality of the day. So what exactly is, like, the Torah is commanding you, you have to have a holiday, and you have to observe the holiday, and you're like, okay, great, I'm going to observe the holiday. What do I do? Nothing. So you bring a sacrifice. Well, there's a sacrifice. That's true, there's a sacrifice. But there's always a sacrifice. Every holiday has its own korban, its own sacrifice. I mean, if you're curious, it's called the Shtei Alechem. It's 2 loaves. You know, apparently the Jewish God likes cake, not surprisingly. And it's leaven. It's the only leavened product that's brought on the as an offering in the temple, is the Shtei Alechem on Shavuot. That is the sacrifice that you bring. But that's not the same thing as having a mitzvah hayom, a mitzvah of the day, because every other holiday has both. They have a korban, they have a sacrifice, and they have mitzvah hayom. So what are you celebrating? So you're going to say, well, there's another identifying feature that holidays tend to have, and that is they're commemorating something. So on Pesach, we are commemorating God's taking us out of Egypt. Thank you very much, right? We're very appreciative. On Sukkot, we're also commemorating God's taking us out of Egypt, believe it or not. It says, that in order that your generations will know that I took you out of Egypt and stuck you in booths. That's where the Jews lived when they came out of Egypt. So we sit in booths on Sukkot. What are we commemorating on Shavuot? The Torah. Matan Torah, right? Excellent. So we could say, you know what the theme of Shavuot is? Commemorating Matan Torah. Commemorating the acceptance, the receiving of the Torah. It's fantastic. There's only one small problem. It's a minuscule problem. I hope you'll forgive me. The only problem is the Torah actually doesn't mention that at all. At all. Which means that you are telling me that the idea of the holiday of Shavuos is to commemorate the event of the giving of the Torah. And in the Torah, in Parshas Emor, when it commands you to observe the holiday, it neglects to mention the thing you're supposed to be commemorating. That's absurd. That's abysmal, right? It can't be. It can't be that the Torah wants you to commemorate Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. I hope it's not working, because now it's really not working. It can't be that the Torah wants you to commemorate Matan Torah and then accidentally forgets to put that in, right? It just can't be. It's very strange. So why is there no mitzvah hayom, and why is it not really commemorating any event? Okay, it gets worse. Baruch Hashem. It gets worse. It's worse. You know why it's worse? Because if you read through the holidays, all the holidays, the Moadim, they come together in the exact same parsha, which is intuitive. You would expect the system of law to tell you the holidays together. So it starts with Shabbat, because that's similar to holidays, and then it goes into those 5 in order. Pesach, Shavuos, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippurim, Sukkot, in order. And how does each holiday get introduced? Very, very productively and very, very intuitively. It will say something to the effect of, well, on the 15th day of the month of Nisan, it's Pesach. Do eat matzah, don't eat leaven, bring a sacrifice. On the 15th day of Tishrei, it is Sukkot. You must dwell in a sukkah, and you must wave the lemons. And on Rosh Hashanah, it is the first day of the 7th month, and you're going to blow into a horn. And on Yom Kippurim, it is the 10th day. You get the point, right? You get the point. When it comes to Shavuot, it tells you that you're going to count 49 days, and on the 50th day, you're going to bring that sacrifice that we discussed before, the bread, the loaves of bread, the cakes. And then it tells you, I can't even say it with a straight face, it says, Uvakutzerchem et kitziratzachem. And when you're harvesting your harvest in your field, Lo techalek ha'atzacha b'kutzrecha, v'leket kitzrecha lo telaket, la'ani v'lager ta'zov otam ani Adonai Elohechem. When you're harvesting your field, don't harvest the corner of your field. And if you drop something, you have to leave it to the poor. I am Hashem your God. Now, what is this referring to? This is referring to the matnot aniyim, which literally means the presents that we give to the poor. We give presents to the poor. So how does it work? Obviously, we're dealing with an agricultural society. People had fields. That's how they made their livelihood. So your field, the corner of your field, was set aside for the poor. And not only that, but when you would go through with what do they call it, a scythe? A scythe or a scythe? A scythe, right?
A mesh.
So, but however you say that, right? That big curved, the thing that that death has, right? The scythe. So you go through and you harvest your wheat with that. You have harvesters, and they grab those stalks and make them into bundles, and then they put the bundles in piles, and etc. etc. So if the harvester drops a stalk, then the poor can take that stalk. He's not allowed to turn around, bend down, and pick up the stalk and put it back in the bundle. Not allowed to do that. That is called leket. That's called leket. It's one of the matnot aniyim. If the guy is doing his harvesting and he drops something, it's for the poor. It's not for you. Now, tzedakah is wonderful, right? We're Jews. We are all about tzedakah. It's a beautiful thing. The only problem is, why the heck is it here? It does not belong smack in the middle of the holidays, right? You have 2 holidays, and then tzedakah, and then 3 holidays. Right by Shavuot. It's strange. It's strange. So where would you want it intuitively? Where would you want the mitzvahs of tzedakah?
Pesach.
By Pesach? Really?
No, Purim, sorry.
By Purim. But Purim's not in Torah.
Right.
So you can't put it by Purim. Well, what about by monetary law? You have monetary laws in the Torah. What happens if you damage somebody? What happens if you buy a slave? What happens if you sell a slave? All of these. Guess what? The Torah does teach you about the laws of the poor there. The law of tzedakah is in kesef tavet ami. If you will lend money to my nation. Lending money means give tzedakah to the poor. That's what it's talking about. And that is brought intuitively in the laws of monetary ideas. That's where it belongs. Why would you stick it smack bang in the middle of holidays? So it's funny. People often misunderstand how they're supposed to use the Torah. You don't just learn what the Torah says. The Torah's not a manual like, okay, read it and do it. And it's this disembodied idea. No. It's not just what is said. How is it said? The words which were used to say it, and where it was said. Because context matters. So this is an elementary idea, but just to give a little bit of an example to kind of spice it up. If someone comes over to you and says, I need to talk to you. Well, there's, I need to talk to you and we're at a funeral. There's, I need to talk to you and it's in the middle of a basketball game. There's, I need to talk to you and I'm in the bathroom. And the answer to all of them is no, but they're different. They're different, right? The context of how I need to talk to you matters very much. Also, how you say it matters. Like, where's mom? Is different than, where's mom? And different than, where's mom? But they're different. So it's the same thing in the Torah. If the Torah's going to tell you something, it's not just what it says. Where does it say it? Why did you put it here? What am I supposed to understand from the fact that you stuck the concept of giving money to the poor in the middle of the holiday of Shavuot? It's bizarre. And worse than that, the method is very sketchy. I mean, if you'll forgive my saying so. Remember, there are 2 issues which are brought up here. You have your field, and the corner of your field you're not allowed to till, you're not allowed to harvest. That's for the poor. Number 1. Number 2, if your harvester happens to drop some things, they can take the stalks. Beautiful idea. Tell me something. Do you think perhaps, as the landowner, you are going to hire very sure-handed harvesters who aren't going to drop anything? This looks like the American tax system, with a bajillion loopholes and write-offs and deductions. Flat tax, baby! If you want to mandate tzedakah, say, hey man, I don't care which corner of the field you do, I don't care who comes in, who doesn't come in, 30% of whatever happens in your field goes to tzedakah, no deductions. No deductions. That's what you do if you want to get people to pony up for tzedakah. That's how you should do it. And yet that's not how he does it. It does this bizarre roundabout, wow, that was interesting. It does this in a very, very bizarre roundabout way of, well, the corner of your field and the people walking behind you. Odd, just odd. So again, just to recap, very quickly, the things that we've discussed so far. First of all, on Shavuot, there's no mitzvah hayom. There's no mitzvah of the day. unlike Pesach and Sukkot and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and every single other holiday. Other than that, hey, buddy, have a seat. Furthermore, it's not commemorative of any particular event. Third of all, the Matnot Aniyim are smack in the middle of Shavuot for some bizarre reason. And fourth of all, the methodology, the operating procedure of these gifts to the poor are very, very strange and somewhat roundabout. So we're going to try to understand those things. So if we can take these ideas and sort of put them on the back burner for a minute and then come with me to a completely different idea. Put that up there on the shelf. We live in an interesting time. We live in a time where we know quite a bit about people who are very different than we are. We understand things about their religions. We understand. I'm not saying you know like the depths of everyone else's religion. We don't even know the depths of our own religion. But you have an impression about what people believe and why and what they say about certain things. I mean, it's in the news, right? All the time, it's in the news. Who did this and why and what the motivations were. This is not how the world historically operates. If you live in Han China, you have no idea what type of pagans live in Phoenicia or what a Christian is, it's a meaningless word to you. But we know what the Buddhists believe, more or less, and the Jews and the Mormons and the Catholics, etc., etc. We know what people believe. So people are they're very into this whole afterlife thing. So some people believe when you die you get 70 virgins, and some people believe when you die you get you sit in a great hall with ancestors and grog, and some people believe that there's a heaven in the sky with harps, and there's the opposite place with the fire and the Diablo guy, and right, people have all sorts of different ideas about heaven and hell, about the good and bad. Fine, that's wonderful. What does the Torah say happens when you die? I know this sounds like it's out of left field, but I promise you, I'll weave it together. What does the Torah say happens when you die?
Isn't reincarnation?
Reincarnation. Doesn't say that. In fact, tangentially, Rav Sadia Gaon says that reincarnation is heresy. He says that it's Eastern thought that somehow crept into Judaism. But that's a fun talk for another day.
I've been lied.
No. Lie to would indicate malice. The people that told you probably didn't know, but that's okay. And again, there's argument over there. There's argument there. The Torah says, I'll give you a hint. The Torah says a grand total of nothing about what happens when you die. Nothing. Zero, explicitly. Zero. It says, do you have a hamster? You don't have a hamster? I've had a hamster before. We tend to kill animals in my house, so we stopped getting them, but...
we had a lizard.
You had a lizard. So the Torah says the same amount explicitly about the afterlife as your lizard does. Nothing, which is to say zero. It does not say anything about what happens when you die. Now, why do religions talk about what happens when you die? I mean, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
A carrot.
Right? It's not only a carrot, it's a carrot and what? And the stick. It's the carrot and the stick, right? So if you're good and you accept whomever it is as your Lord and your Savior and your love and all that stuff, then you go to heaven. And if you don't, you burn in hell forever. Here's your carrot, here's your stick. And everyone pretty much falls into one of those two categories. If the Torah doesn't tell you anything about what happens when you die, so then it must not mandate many laws, right? It must not expect any bit. Oh no, it's filled with laws. So if it's filled with laws, and it doesn't talk at all about what happens when you die, why would anyone keep the laws? I mean, are there any consequences to your actions? Is there any reward and punishment going on in the Torah? At all?
Last week's parsha didn't talk about the blessings and the curses.
Right? So the answer is emphatically yes. Emphatically yes. The difference between what the Torah says about this and what all of those other religions that we've mentioned say about this is that the Torah doesn't talk about the consequences after you die. The Torah says what will happen here, in this world, which is, I think, very interesting because it will be patently, mechanically, demonstrably false or true because you can see it, right? You can measure that. You can't, no one knows whether or not you get 70 virgins or 12 and a half elephants. Nobody knows. But if the Torah tells you what will happen in this world, then you can absolutely say, yes, it's true, no, it's not true. Again, different shoes for a different day. The point is the Torah doesn't say anything about it, but it says a heck of a lot about what happens here. Very much. Very, 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 very much. So let's talk a little bit about these blessings and curses that Lewis brought up. Yes, shall we? This week's shir is also brought to us by Pellegrino. As opposed to Diet Coke, I'm getting a little healthier in my old age. La'at. So, here's a good example of what the blessings and curses sound like. And it will be, if you listen and hearken to the mitzvot of the Torah that I, Hashem, your God, command you today, then you will be blessed in the city and blessed in the field, and blessed in your tummy and blessed in your food, and it will rain, and you will have money, and you will have peace in the land, and no one will attack you. And whenever you go to war, 5 of you will chase 100, and 100 will chase 10,000, and you're just going to beat the crap out of everybody, and everything's going to be great. If you don't, right? And then, of course, the other one, right, the flip side, and it will be if you don't, then terrible, terrible things. It's not going to rain, and you're going to lose all your money, and you're going to have to sell your house, you're going to have to sell your daughter, you're going to have to sell yourself, and then it's going to get even worse. You're going to be destroyed, and you're going to be killed, and you're going to be exiled. This is very, very, it's demoralizing. You wonder why people aren't running around to convert to Judaism. Not only that, it goes so far as to say, and you're going to end up eating the flesh of your children. And you're going to be a dying, rotting carcass in the middle of the street, and birds are going to eat you. I mean, this is nasty stuff. Don't take my word for it again. Google! It's in the portion of Balocha, like you said. We read it last week. I'm sorry, not Balocha, excuse me, of Bechukotai. It's in the portion of Bechukotai. Well, so it doesn't say anything about what happens when you die, but it does say very, very many things about what happens here when you're alive. That it most assuredly does. It also says something odd. Very odd. Because there are 2 portions that deal with blessings and curses. One is Bechukosai, and one is Kitavo. And the Talmud says the most strange thing. Just says this really, really weird thing. You know what Talmud says? Talmud says you have to make sure that the calendar works out so that you will read these blessings and curses twice a year specifically. Once before Rosh Hashanah, which kind of makes sense. Let the last year with all its bad curses end, and let the new year be good. Okay, I get it, that's cool. You know what the other time you have to read the blessings and curses are? Shavuot. Why? It's not the beginning of anything. I mean, it's literally not the beginning of anything. It's not the end of anything. It's like 80% through the year. Talk about lazy. All of a sudden, you have to read the blessings and the curses by Shavuot. Strange. Oh, I find it strange. It's an opinion.
No, it's right before you get into the law.
You wouldn't think after? Right? Wouldn't that be more intuitive? It would be more intuitive to me. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but
Pay attention.
pay attention because
There's some heavy stuff coming down, and if you don't get it right, this is what's going to happen to you, so you better pay attention.
That may be true. I can't argue it. Because that might be the intent. But it certainly doesn't seem like a very obvious intent. Right? It's not an obvious thing. Whereas the new year, you think it is pretty much an obvious thing. Now, we believing Jews, shall we call it, have less of a problem believing that if we keep certain laws, good things will happen, and if we don't keep certain laws, bad things will happen. But let's pretend for a moment that we're just the average Joe on the street. You're suggesting that there is a correlation between laying tefillin and your derivative account performing, like that your portfolio is going to get a better ROI if you put a mezuzah on your doorpost. I find that hard to believe. Again, hey, if you're a religious person, you have faith, that's great. That's great, good for you. I congratulate you, and it must be easy to sleep that way. But for other people, if people don't share that faith, it's a hard case to make. What exactly is the connection between the one and the other? If you do these mitzvot, then you'll have all this money and all these good things. You'll notice that all of the blessings and all the curses have one thing in common. They're exceedingly mundane. They're all very mundane, right? They don't say, and if you do good things, God will love you, and He'll send His ruach, and His shefa, and all these words that you read about, like in the Zohar. He doesn't use any of those words. He doesn't use any spiritual words. And He doesn't say, if you're bad, I'm going to make you unholy. No, He doesn't say that. If you're bad, I'm going to kill you. You're all going to die horribly, and if you're good, I'm going to give you money. Right? It's very Jewish. I'm going to give you so many good things. Money and family and health and wealth and peace and all these great things as well. They're very mundane. Very, very mundane. Not necessarily what you would have expected from a document such as the Torah. But again, I'm cool. I can accept it. It's hard to recognize exactly what the causative connection is, but I can accept it. I can accept it as a religious person. You take it or you leave it. The question is how you look at it. Is this idea of blessings on the one hand and cursings on the other hand, is it nothing more than a carrot and stick? Is that all it is? We're saying, really, you should do the Torah. Why? because it's God. So, I want you to do it, so if you do it, I'll give you good stuff and like money, and if you don't do it, then bad stuff and I'll hit you. If you do it, then I, God, love you and I'm nice to you, and if you don't do it, then I, God, hate you and I'm mean to you. That's one possibility. You can believe that. In fact, many people do. Most people do. There is another possibility. The other possibility is that these blessings and curses are not detached from the Torah, but instead they are very integrally and inexorably connected to the Torah. Well, what would that look like? How would that work? That's something that I would like to analyze. Before we jump headlong into that, let's take a closer look at Shavuot. We mentioned before that there's no mitzvah of the day. And that's really odd. It's bizarre because every other holiday, without exception, has a mitzvah hayom, and Shavuot doesn't. The truth is, it's not whatsoever bizarre. It's intuitive, and you have to be trying very hard. You have to be certain of what it means before you look at it in order to miss it. Say that again. You had to have come in with preconceived notions in order to miss what the text is telling you, because the text is obvious. You know why there's no mitzvah of the day? Shavuot is not a day. Shavuot isn't a day. Shavuot is a period. Shavuot is a process. How do I know Shavuot is a process? Well, very simply. First of all, you count up, not down, which we've mentioned in the past. More fundamentally, what date does Shavuot fall out on? We know Passover is always the 15th day of Nisan. Rosh Hashanah, 1st day of Tishrei. Yom Kippur, 10th day of Tishrei. Sukkot, 15th day of Tishrei. What day of the month is Shavuot? I'll give you a hint. No particular day. Sounds weird. Sounds very weird. It always falls out on the same day in our lives because we have a calendar. When there is no calendar according to biblical times, Shavuot can fall out on one of 4 different days. Why? Because it depends how you calculate the months. Some months have 30 days, some months have 29 days. So depending upon how you do those months, Shavuot will either be on Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Sivan. So it doesn't even have a particular date. Furthermore, why do you call Pesach, Pesach? Because Pesach means the Passover, God passed over us. Why do you call Sukkot, Sukkot? Sukkot means booth, right? You sit in a booth. Rosh Hashanah, the truth is the Torah doesn't call it Rosh Hashanah. Yom Kippurim, the Day of Atonement. Why do you call, what does Shavuot mean? What does it mean? What does the word Shavuot mean? Weeks! The name of the day is weeks! Why? Because it's not a day, it's weeks! It's weeks, it's a process. You commemorate the process of the weeks on a particular day when you are finished counting the weeks. But the name of the holiday is quite literally weeks, and it's not on any particular day, and you count up to it because it is a process, so it's not an event. It's not an event. Well, if it's not an event, the reason that you don't have a mitzvah hayom, a mitzvah of the day, you're looking in the wrong place. You're looking for the mitzvah of the day to come out on the day that we commemorate Shavuot. That's totally wrong. If the day is called weeks, then where would you intuitively look for the mitzvah? In the weeks. That's where you would find it. You would logically find it in the weeks. Okay. Now, perhaps not so ironically, these are very specific weeks. Because the 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuot in the land of Israel happen to correspond perfectly with a certain agricultural idea. Any of you know? The harvest of wheat. The wheat harvest. The wheat harvest in the land of Israel happens over a 7-week period of time, which begins at Pesach and culminates, you guessed it, at Shavuot. So, you're telling me that there is a process happening, that for 7 weeks I'm working on my grain harvest, and then, at the end of it, I'm going to bring a sacrifice of bread, which I make from the wheat, that I harvested in the last 7 weeks, and then all of a sudden it talks to you about the laws of charity. But which laws of charity? The laws of charity that pertain to your field that you're harvesting. Okay. Well now, maybe all of a sudden it's not so strange. Maybe it's not so strange that the Torah chooses to tell us about those gifts to the poor at this particular time, but we're going to come back to that. So there are 2 processes that are happening during these 7 weeks. One of them is the harvesting of our grain, of our wheat, and the other is preparing ourselves for the Torah. Now, it's true, we know we got the Torah on Shavuot, but as we said before, it's unmentioned. That's really weird. Let's take a moment to feel that. The Torah is telling you, you have information in the Torah to learn and deduce that the day of Shavuot was the day that we received the Torah on Mount Sinai. So the Torah gives you enough information to infer that, but it also doesn't mention it at all. It's a very strange dichotomy. It's not an accident. You have to get out in front of it. What's the message there? What's it trying to tell me? It's giving me something, right? That's why it's written. It's written so that I will understand something, so that I can change in my life. Why? Why? Last, seemingly extraneous piece of information, and then we're going to start to weave. There are two ostensibly contradictory verses in the Torah. I mean, there are numerous ones, but two that we're going to list right now. One is Ki lo yechtal evyon mikerev haaretz. There will never be a time without poor people. Lo yechtal evyon mikerev haaretz. There's no such thing as an economy without poor people. It just doesn't happen. There will always be poor. And yet, we have another pasuk, another verse. And the second pasuk says, Efes ki lo yihye becha evyon. You will have no poor people in your midst. 1 minute. You can't make two statements such as those in the same book, because they are literally mutually exclusive. It's eating your cake and having it too. The only way you can have your cake after you ate it is to vomit it. And then it's less appetizing, hopefully. So how can it be that on the one hand you're telling me that there will always be poverty, and on the other hand you're telling me that you can get to a place where there will be no poverty? It's a problem, right? That's what we call a problem. Well, we mentioned before that to a person who's, an atheist, an agnostic, a regular guy, right? And by the way, we should all start out like that. To a regular guy, he doesn't see any correlation between tefillin and health. Doesn't seem to be any correlative properties there, right, that are scientifically explainable. Fine. Well, does that person think that there is some causation to success in life? Does an atheist think, an intelligent atheist, does he think that there are some actions which may be taken that would probably result in worldly success? Or is it just like luck? It's a crapshoot. Some people make it, some people don't. What do you think?
Logical consequence.
Logical consequence, right? It's a logical consequence. Of what? Effort, dedication, perseverance, intelligence, education, industriousness, the technology, work ethic, IQ, EQ, SQ. You can go on forever. Luck, dumb luck is definitely a factor there somewhere, but obviously all of those things are causative. They're causative, and every parent will tell that to their kid. And every college counselor will tell that to their student. Hey buddy, if you want to get in, you have to do this. This is the recipe for success. Okay, that's wonderful, and I believe that. I think that, who doesn't believe that? You got to be smoking something very strong to not believe that there's some sort of a correlation between all of those things and success. There obviously is. Okay. Well, is it possible, in your mind, to engineer a system wherein everyone has those things? Is it possible to create a society in which everyone is educated and given the tools to be successful? Is that possible? I'm asking you. No, it's impossible, right? Can't be done. Can't be done. Why can't it be done? Why not? Why?
Some people don't want to.
Oh, very good. That's very true. So I'm not talking about the people who say, I'm not going to work. And I'm not advocating socialism. I don't think anyone has the right to sit on their bum and eat your food.
The people that can't.
People that can't. We're going to talk about that real soon. People that can't. And what about 99% of people who can, but for whatever reason, failed? Is there any system that you could put in place which would give everybody the abilities, the tools, the skills to succeed? Is it theoretically possible? Why would that be impossible? I mean, I'm quite positive that it's very possible. Not only do I think it's possible, I think the Torah is telling you how to do it. I think the Torah is telling you how to do it. I think the Torah is telling you how to do it here for a reason. It's a really cool reason. Okay, here's what I think. You know why? See, charity's terrible. Charity's terrible. It's the worst thing you can do to somebody. Guy comes over to you, he needs a buck. He doesn't have any money, can't eat. So you give him 20. Feel great. I'm a good guy. I give him 20 bucks. Give it back tomorrow. Who's going to give him $20 tomorrow? This is an old adage, right? Give a man a fish, teach a man to fish. Giving somebody a fish, you can create a wonderful welfare state, which if you turn on the news, you can see how that's turning out. You can't give people fish and build a society that way. We asked before, why doesn't the Torah just say, hey Sprung, you got your field, 30% to the poor. Great, made $1 million this year, cut a check, bang, United Way, see you later. Oh no, that's not what you do. You have a business? That corner of your field, that's not yours. That corner of your field belongs to the poor. Invite them in. Don't cut a check. Invite them in. Okay, no problem. So what am I going to do? I'm a smart guy. I don't want poor people walking my field. Ew. So here's my field, and I just write off that corner of the field. I don't care what happens to that corner. That corner is for the poor people. They're not going to interrupt my daily comings and goings. Oh, did I neglect to tell you? They will be walking behind your harvesters. You think you can just get away by giving a corner of the field and never see them again? No. They're in your business. But why would the Torah do that? Because the Torah wants them in your business. It wants them there. You know why we don't have a system that takes care of them? It's so simple. We have so many generous people, but we really do. Forget like in the world, in our community, okay? In our community, we have one of the most beautiful, generous communities in the world. People give a lot of tzedakah. So why don't we have a system like this? Well, what do you mean I gave a check? I gave a check! You can't expect me to like fix the problem. That's not my business. Oh, it is. It's your business. If it's your business, if the business of the poor is your business, then you'll solve it. Then you'll solve it. You will create a system which will ensure the skills and the education and the industry and the perseverance and the grit and the ability. You will do that. You will do that. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. We've all seen it happen. In the IDF, right? Today, this is nice that we can talk a little bit about the IDF today. It's Yom Yerushalayim. I mean, what a day, right? We really, I was like a little torn. We just talk about Yom Yerushalayim, like 50th anniversary of what Yerushalayim is, and that really deserves its own time. The IDF has special units, elite units, with handicapped people. Elite units. The only thing that the entire unit has in common is that they're all handicapped. Well, tell me something. Do you consider the IDF to be some sort of liberal equality, No. So why do they have these units? Very simple. Because if you look at every person in that unit and you say, look at all these faculties that they're missing. But guess what? There's something that they can do that because of their disability, they do a lot better than you and I. A lot better. Maybe there are things that they notice and focus in on and obsess about that you would never see in 1,000 years. Now tell me something. Is autism new? No. So how come the IDF came up with this unit? Oh, because someone thought about it. Because someone thought about it. Nothing changed, right? Humanity didn't change, physics didn't change, nothing changed. Someone thought about it. Someone was like, it appears to me we can use these people that you thought couldn't work. We can use these people to gain a tremendous competitive advantage. You're telling me we can't think of a system that would employ people? Give me a break. Of course we could. So now let's think for a moment. Let's take those two seemingly mutually exclusive verses. Let's put them together again. We said on the one end it says that there will never be a time where there's no poverty. On the other, it says, and you'll have no poor people. Well, which one is it? The answer is both. The situation, the reality is that there's no such thing as eliminating the potential to be poor. There will always exist the potential to lose all your money in whatever system of money you happen to create, whether it's pounds, dollars, or Bitcoin. That will always exist as a possibility. You know what else exists as a possibility? Solutions always exist as a possibility. And every single problem that exists, you can solve. If you want to. You may solve it. So essentially, charity is very bad. But matnot aniyim, bringing into the business, that's very good. Giving someone a fish, maybe not a great thing. But if you look at how the Torah phrases it, you know the Torah phrases the mitzvah of tzedakah, it's unbelievable. Im kesef talveh et ami. What does that mean, im kesef talveh? Ma ze lehalvot? To lend. To lend. It doesn't say give. Lend. I understand. Hey, you lend money to a poor guy, he doesn't have money. He's not going to pay you back. He doesn't have money. Why are you lending him money? Invest in him. Lend him money. Start a business. Get him on his feet. Then he's not poor anymore. And now you got stock options. Build. Build your community. Build your society. If we're going to take all of this and move backwards, let's see if we can answer all of our questions. We don't have fields nowadays. But the analogy is obvious, right? The Torah speaks in very, very boiled down universal human experience. It's a paradigm. The paradigm of the harvesting of your wheat field means the way that you execute to get the money. Whatever that happens to be. You could be a shoe salesman, you could be an accountant, you could be a pilot, doesn't matter. That's your field. That's your field. And the time period that we focus on getting our money, that's this time that we're in right now. That's the Omer, leading up to Shavuot. In that time, when you're worried about where you get your money, you bring in the poor. Not for handouts. Put them on their feet. Take responsibility. Do something. Don't just cut a check. Do something. It's in the harvest period for a reason. We interrupt the regular scheduled program of the holidays to bring you the laws of the field and giving to the poor for a reason. Not to give the money as outsiders, but to include them. And it's fascinating. Because the end of that sentence is, La'ani v'lager ta'azov otam, leave them for the poor and for the stranger. Ani Adonai Elohechem, I am Hashem your God. What do you mean, I am Hashem your God? I know who's talking. So Rashi explains, Ne'eman l'shalem sachar. I'm trustworthy. I'm telling you that if you do this, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. Well, let's talk to Mr. Atheist for a moment. Do you think that an atheist would see a very definitive causation to creating an economic system wherein everyone in the community has a job? Is that a miracle? Is that magic? Or do you think the atheist can be like, well, yeah, totally, of course that would work? Is the Torah telling you if you do these things, God is going to shower blessing upon you through Harry Potterville? I mean, obviously, he created the world in a certain way. But it makes sense, too. I mean, it makes sense. And it's the same period of Kabbalat Torah. It's exactly the same time as the acceptance of the Torah. Interesting. What does the word Torah mean? To teach. Moreh, Horeh, Torah, to show. To show. The Torah is there to show you. What's it there to show you? How to live. How to live. What's the purpose of the Torah? To do like disembodied mechanical actions like shaking palm fronds? Is that the purpose? Or is the purpose the stated purpose of blessings and curses? What are the blessings and curses? If you do this, you'll have an amazing society and an amazing life, and you'll have health, and you'll have wealth, and you'll have happiness, and you'll have peace. And if you don't, the opposite. Does that sound like it's some sort of very religious, spiritual thing to you? Or does that seem like it is telling you, oh, you want to build a good society? You better build people who are respectful. You better build people who are diligent. You better build people who are patient. You better build people who are kind. Maybe that's what it's saying. Maybe. Well, what's the other option? Unfortunately, there are people who worship the Torah. It's terrible. Why would you worship the Torah? The Torah's not a God. The Torah is not a goal. It's a tool. The word means to show. It's a tool. It's in order. It does something. It accomplishes something for you. You don't worship it. The day of Kabbalat Torah, the grandest day in the history of humanity, according to the Torah. The day that we became a nation. We don't celebrate that openly. We don't mention it. Why? Because it's not about the Torah. It's about you. It's about what happens to you when you study Torah. It's not about the scroll. It's funny. The Talmud says, wow, these idiots, that when a Torah walks by, they all stand up, right? They open up the Aron, they open up the Ark on Shabbat, and they bring the Torah out, and everybody stands up. And it says that same idiot, he stands up for a scroll, and a big Talmud scholar, a big Talmid Chacham, walks in, and they don't stand up for them. What an idiot. What's the Talmud saying? The Talmud's saying, why are you standing up for a scroll? That man is a walking Torah. That's Torah. Torah changed him, made him into something. Stand for that. Respect the accomplishment of what it did. It's not a goal. It's a tool. If you use the Torah as a God, you can destroy society. You can have very religious societies, very, very intensely mitzvah observant societies, which are rotten to the core. Rotten to the core. You have entire societies, by the way, well-meaning people. You have societies that are all built on religion, and they can have many components, many wonderful, wonderful, wonderful components, but a social structure which is completely upside down. Everybody's starving. Nobody can get married. Nobody's working. You're telling me this is what the Torah... Look at the blessings and curses and telling me this is what... Tell me that's what the Torah intended. How can you read the book with so much cognitive dissonance that you can come out with that? How can you possibly see that? The answer is because you went in looking for it. Don't worship the scroll. Listen to the scroll. Now, Shavuot, if that's the case, we're looking at the process of human achievement. Human achievement. What I do in my field and how I build my society. Well, isn't it then perhaps intuitive that it's the only time out of all of the Jewish sacrifices that are brought, it's the only one that is bread. The only one. It's the only one that represents a process that had to take place through humans. Everything else is just natural meal. It's the only one on Shavuot. Is that really so strange? So strange. The Torah is not a religion. The Torah is not a how-to magic book that if you wave this and say these words and rap this, everything will be good. It's not a way to earn heaven. The Torah doesn't talk about heaven. For that reason. It's not a way, it's not there to earn your way to heaven. It's not a book of physics. It's a book about life. It's a book that shows you how to live. It shows you how to build this society. That's what it's for. That's why it's there. What do we call the law? We don't call it law. We call it halakha. Halakha means a path. It's a path. What's a path? Path. A way to get where I'm going. That's why you call it a path. That's why it's called a path. It's very, I think, very cool because there's an argument in the Talmud. The Gemara argues about the holidays, whether it's on the holiday you should really be focusing on God or focusing on yourself. Whether it's kulo la Hashem or kulo lachem. Is the holiday for you or is the holiday for God? And the Gemara says the strangest thing, the most counterintuitive thing you could possibly imagine. It says, even though there's an argument by all the holidays, whether it's supposed to be God-centric or you-centric, by Shavuos, everyone agrees. Kuli amalo pligi. No one argues, Diba'ina nami lachem. You definitely need for you also. There has to be an element of the holiday of Shavuot, which is for you. Why? Gemara says, well, because Yom Shinit Nabo Torah, because that's the day the Torah was given. Obviously, if it's the day that the Torah was given, it has to be about you. Say that to a religious Jew, and you're going to get this kind of look. What are you talking about? The Torah's not about me, the Torah's about God. No! No, idiot, it's about you! The Gemara says that no one argues by Shavuot that it's about you, because it's Torah, and Torah's all about you. What, you think the Torah's about the angels? You think the Torah's about God? The Torah's about you. What you can do with it. So I think the reason that it moved me so much to talk about this, it never occurred to me before. It never occurred to me that the reason why we have in our community, in our incredible, generous community, that we have poverty, my fault. My fault. Because I can give all the Meiser checks I want. But when's the last time I seeked out the problem and tried to fix it? I'll give you a hint. Never. Never. We have to ask ourselves that question. The entirety of the holiday of Shavuos is wrapped up in giving to the poor, but not giving them the ability to get unpoor. I'm going to end with a very cool correlation. On Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, we read a Megillah, each one. So on Pesach, we read Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, and on Sukkot, we read Koheles, Ecclesiastes, and on Shavuos, what do we read? Ruth, right? Ruth. Read the book of Ruth. Yeah, Megillat Ruth. We read the book of Ruth. Yeah? Well, let's analyze just for a moment. Ruth comes as a poor convert. She shows up in Israel on Pesach. And when is the last day that she spends in the field of Boaz? Shavuot. And where is this all taking place? What city? Beit Lechem. The house of bread. It's all about caring for the poor. And the truth is, we know this politically. Because in every single society, in the most decrepit, today, 2017, forget years ago, the most decrepit third world nation, where rampant poverty, people are dying of like river blindness and measles, you have 5-star hotels. You have incredible, incredible wealth in those places. Why does the political system go topsy-turvy? Because you have such a critical mass of people on the bottom that can't eat, and they overthrow the government, and you have major problems. You have unrest, you have civil unrest, because people are hungry. People are hungry. What made America America for all of those years that it was so great? The answer was a robust middle class. A very robust middle class. The ability of the average Joe to make a living if he wants to. That's what made it so special. That's what we're supposed to be focused on. So I think I would like to offer for all of us to concentrate on this Shavuos, how can we help to really make a difference in our very own communities? Because if everyone takes care of their grounded communities, we will never have any poverty in any of our communities. Have a great night. I'll miss you guys next week. Peace and love.